of the great things about living in Europe is all the days we have off thanks to people from the past. Saints, kings, national heroes, we honor them with statues, street names, and holidays. But if we're really honest, we don't actually know who they truly were. Between the history books and long weekends, their real stories, their humanity, their choices, their struggles, often gets lost. The truth is that behind every legend is a real flesh and blood, flawed human, just like us. But the challenge is to see past the myths, to get closer to the real people, because their lives still have something to teach us. Here in Ireland, we hold on to one of those people pretty tightly, a man named Patrick. But for all the parades, paintings, and green-coloured celebrations, the real Patrick often gets drowned out by the noise. So who was he? And how did someone who wasn't even Irish become the ultimate symbol of Irishness? He was born into a family of faith somewhere on the west coast of Britain, in a time when many families like his depended on Roman protection. But when the Roman Empire withdrew its troops from Britain, these communities were suddenly exposed, especially to Irish raiders. These raiders launched brutal hit-and-run attacks, stealing whatever they could carry, including people. Patrick, just 16, was torn from his home, his family, and everything he knew. He was trafficked across the sea and forced to herd sheep in the cold, mountainous wilderness of the Irish West. It's hard to imagine how that would have felt. To be kidnapped, to be treated like property, to be surrounded by strangers in a land that you didn't recognize, in a language you couldn't understand, with no way home and no hope of escape. Patrick would have been heartbroken. He would have been hopeless. I think he would have been angry at his captors, angry at the life he lost, probably angry at God. And yet in this place of pain and isolation, this is where his faith deepened. A faith that would have been maybe a family thing had now become personal. By his own words, in his confession, he wrote, "After I had come to Ireland, they made me shepherd the flocks day after day. And as I did so, I would pray all the time, right throughout the day. More and more, the love of God and fear of Him grew strong within me. I realize now it was the Spirit burning in me at that time." It's a hard truth, but a real one. Sometimes suffering is the place where faith becomes real. Sometimes pain opens up a space in us that comfort never could. And this is a pattern that we see throughout the scriptures. Stories of people crying out in despair, only to be met by a God who hears them. Take Joseph, for example, sold into slavery by his brothers, finding himself in an Egyptian prison. Or Daniel, kidnapped and raised in a foreign court, betrayed for holding on to his faith. And Esther, chosen against her will and living in an egotistical king's harem, risking it all to intercede for the survival of her people. God was there, and God was with them. Even Jesus himself, abandoned and bleeding on a cross, crying out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" God was still there. This is the God that Patrick met, not distant, not detached, but present in suffering. And then one night, 6 years after being taken captive, in a dream he heard a voice say, "Soon you will return to your own country. Come and see, your ship is waiting." Risking everything, Patrick ran. And after crossing 200 dangerous miles of unfamiliar terrain, he arrived at a port he had never seen before. And just like the dream had promised, a ship was waiting. This is more than a story of survival. It's a story of spiritual awakening. A reminder that God is not just there in comfort, He is there in captivity. He is there in our suffering. He is the God who hears us when we cry and who draws near when we feel forgotten. As the ancient song puts it, if your heart is broken, you will find God right there. If you've been kicked in the gut, He will help you catch your breath. He escaped Ireland a completely different person, a free man embarking on a whole new journey. Patrick didn't choose his suffering, but in the middle of it, he reached out to the God who suffers with us and found Him.